Hi there. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Ryan Vanderhei, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies. Sure, these works of art entertain us, offer us an escape, and even tap into our emotions. There's often one E that's overlooked.
Enlightenment. If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings. I'm your co host, Joe Parente, and it's our mission with this podcast to share these unique perspectives with you so you can potentially grow from the show. That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be really cool,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
The topic of today's discussion is his three daughters and the value in having empathy for those that are different than you.
Mm.
As always, spoilers are ahead, so proceed with caution. If you haven't seen the film, I recommend go watch it now, come back and listen to the episode because we're going to really piece apart this incredible movie that was just a very pleasant surprise to me, I will say.
It was for me as well. A really pleasant surprise.
And if you leave a like, a rating, or a review wherever you listen, it really helps out the show. Shall we begin?
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself. That's a quote from Simon Sinek, American author and online personality. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Simon Sinek. Empathy is about finding echoes of another person in yourself.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
Empathy is simply put just that, finding echoes of another person in yourself. If you're able to tap into sort of what you've been through, what you might be feeling, that's where you're able to kind of tap into that empathy and access that.
Yeah.
It's so useful and vital to, as we see throughout the movie, especially in times of tragedy and difficult situations. Accessing empathy has never been more important than in those times.
Yeah.
It's
quite true.
It's easy to, I think, we all get caught up in especially here in LA, we get caught up in day to day. We get caught up in the dream, the goals, the drive, the work, the art. But when it gets tough, that's when it's most valuable. It's most useful. And I think there's something true to be said about you can't really understand someone until you see things from their point of view.
To the best of your ability.
Do you think you do this yourself, and do you think that you've always done this?
I want to do it more.
Sure.
I think I want to do my best to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes automatically and sometimes it doesn't. Have I always done that? Absolutely not. Oh my God, no. I think that's part of adulting is learning that if you want to be around other people, then having the ability to empathize will really, it's an excellent social lubricant, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, social lubricant.
It really is. It really just helps with everything, all kinds of interactions.
Yeah.
I don't know if, can we completely empathize with someone? No. We can never completely walk in someone else's shoes. But I think just making the effort of trying to understand where someone's coming from is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking with a friend and you can see that they're genuinely trying to understand where you're coming from, that just helps.
It speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Just the power of listening, just the power of being interested in what I'm saying and allowing me to be heard. That is so, like you said, huge social lubricant.
Yeah.
It just helps. You're pleasant to be around.
Yeah.
Just making that effort. That's all I need is effort. I don't need you to understand everything I'm going through.
Yeah.
I would never expect that from someone. That would be completely unrealistic. But just that you're trying, just that the effort's there, that's enough.
So what is it about this movie that brings that to mind for you?
Oh boy, I think it's tricky because you have three incredible characters here. We could have spoken about any of them at length. So fantastically written,
Yes,
the three differing personalities. And I think that's
really
where
something.
empathy comes into play because as we watch throughout the film, these three sisters who are more or less not really in each other's lives anymore.
You could call them estranged.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's certainly a way to put it. They have to come together. They're forced to come together in this moment. They're backed into a corner. And they have, at the beginning, there's not a lot of empathy there from certain characters. We'll say more than others, and who we're going to talk about
Yes.
mostly on this, but
Yes.
which is Kate, I believe, or Katie.
Yeah, Kate does not have a lot of empathy
Kate-
initially.
Initially, when we meet her, there's a clear lack of empathy with her character. She can't really see what the other sisters are going through,
Nope.
where they're coming from, the world
Nope.
that they live in,
Nope.
their personality.
Yep.
She's completely kind of walled off to that. Why do you think that is coming from Kate? Like, what is it about her?
I've thought about this quite a bit. I think that Kate's probably quite bright. She's the oldest, and she's quite bright, and she's a New Yorker. And I love how Carrie Coon, who's from, I believe, Ohio, played a New Yorker so well.
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
Because the movie starts off with her, I believe, is her character talking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like almost Aaron Sorkin-esque,
Dialogue, yeah,
it's
it's
just boom, 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 boom,
quick.
boom, boom, boom. There are no spaces between her sentences or probably her thoughts,
Yeah.
and she's probably somebody who's quite bright, and she's a New Yorker, and she's just kind of used to being right and on it. And we can get into this because I think there are other massive character flaws that she has as a human being
Yeah.
that contribute to that.
Sure. Sure.
Of course, we can't say why exactly because we don't know her origin story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she talked probably being the oldest sibling pretty seriously. Probably kind of took on a responsibility role.
Sure. I think as an older sibling, often you do.
Yeah, and I think she, for sure, and I think she is, unfortunately, to her own detriment, dismissive of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think that sometimes when you are, I don't know how we want to call it, high functioning, you tend to sort of lack that empathy in certain ways because you think, well, why can't you just get it together?
Right.
I don't understand. Why?
Exactly.
It's not hard. You just don't
That's
do
right.
that. Like, isn't it obvious you don't smoke weed in the house? Like,
Right.
while dad's dying? I don't understand that. She has that whole tiff with, that's like the first tiff that she has, I think, with her sister. Is like, why are you, this should be obvious to you. You're smoking weed in the house with dad's dying in the next room? Like, I don't understand that.
Well, right.
To her, she can't compartmentalize that.
And to her, it was disrespect,
Sure.
where she did not take into consideration at all the fact that this is Rachel's home. Rachel's been doing that for a long time. Dad likes the smell of it, as Rachel later pointed out. And it was where Kate took it as a personal affront. I didn't necessarily really buy that this is disturbing Dad.
Yeah.
She didn't know that. She assumed that.
That's not coherent. He
She
can't
didn't
voice that.
like it, and she didn't own it.
Yeah.
So she's telling the person who's been living there for quite some time, now you have to go outside because I'm here.
Huh. That's a great.
She's a piece of work.
She is, man.
She's a
Certainly in the beginning. I think it's a great. You touched on something there that immediately sparked something for me. When, yeah, you don't. How do I want to word this? How do I want to voice this? When you feel like it's a burden to you, you try to. You don't want to be the bad guy. So you try to pass it off on someone else. So rather than her saying it bothers me, you're not going to take accountability. So I've seen this so much in life,
I totally agree.
in people, where, and I've done it myself, where you don't want to be the bearer of bad news. You don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to be the one that looks that's bringing down the fun. So then you'll pass it on to some other excuse, some other person to lessen that load on yourself. I
True.
think that's exactly what she was doing.
I was telling Ryan before we started shooting this that there was one scene that with Kate, she's on the phone with her husband, and I wrote it down, the whole thing line for line, because I just watching it, if I heard someone say that, if they were, I'm not sure how I would handle it. But first of all, she makes a comment, and this is relating to what you're saying. She makes a comment about a doctor that comes over to sign a DNR for the father. And she tells her husband, he was here for 15 minutes. He charges $550. Must be nice.
Right.
That's like, must be nice. Nice little snide comment.
Yeah, that wasn't
Well,
necessary.
she could have gone to medical school.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
And she's making an assumption like this guy's got some kind of easy life and she doesn't. And she's the one struggling. And it must be nice just stroll in and make that kind of money. It's like, that attitude really said a lot.
Yeah.
And then she pivots quickly to talking about her daughter. Her daughter's clearly doing something she doesn't want the daughter to do. And she says to her husband, why am I always the bad parent? Why am I always,
yes.
She's making herself a complete victim. She's like, I'm not me. I'm not that way.
Right.
Except you guys put me in this position.
Sure.
Victim.
Yes. What is it about that people will go to ends, to the lengths that they will, to not take accountability?
I think that part of what makes Kate such an effective character and so realistic is that, and we get to see this, I think, towards the end of the movie. If someone is that hypercritical about other people, imagine how they are in their own head. And so there's a really good chance that Kate is not really kind to herself in a particular way. And
it's coming from somewhere.
She's putting that out at everybody else. And it's hard to be empathetic with people like that.
Yeah.
Because they'll throw so much at you to deflect and not, just to be their own victim.
That's a good point. I think there are certain people who just naturally are easier to be empathetic for, and some people who are more difficult.
Yeah.
And certainly her character is very difficult. As you're watching the first half, the first act, the entire first 2 acts, really, you're going, this.
Yeah, there I am sitting in my place watching it, and I wanted out of their apartment.
Yeah, just get me out of here. Yeah, I can't do it anymore.
God, I felt claustrophobic.
Every scene, I just kept going, ooh.
Totally.
And I think, you had mentioned something when we were prepping for this, but I think I really want to speak specifically about the friend that...
Benji?
Yes, Benji.
Brilliant.
What a brilliant scene. What a brilliant character. And just... it really, really pins down what we're discussing about her character, about how flawed she is.
So well.
The lack of empathy is just bizarre.
Bizarre is generous. I think it was cruel.
Yeah.
She, hopefully y'all have seen the movie.
Yeah.
Benji is Rachel's friend, so he comes out from smoking, with her, just being in the room. That's right, they can't smoke in there.
Right, not allowed anymore.
And he faces the sister Kate, who's you could mean, intimidating, I don't know, but she's not easy.
No.
And you can tell that she has got Benji completely in a box. Like, oh, you just smoke a lot of weed with my sister, and you probably don't have a job, and I don't,
She's passing a bunch of judgment.
So much judgment.
Yeah.
So he comes out to add context, to tell her about her sister.
And what she's been doing.
And what she's been doing, and how much she's been taking care of their father.
Right.
And how much she has put herself into it, and how much care she's shown.
Yeah.
And then he also talked about his own relationship.
Sure.
With their father. And this sister, Kate, just completely dismissed it. Yeah. There's enough food if you want it. Are you going to stay or not?
Yeah, it was very...
completely dismissive.
Very off-putting, yeah.
And he handled it so beautifully.
So gracefully, yeah.
And she just showed... she already had him sized up. She didn't hear a word he said.
No, it went in one ear and out the other.
And she didn't care.
Yeah.
She just did not care.
And then she gets loud, and then get him out of here. She's screaming for Rachel to come out.
Yeah.
When he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just called her out on her BS.
Yeah, he did.
You need someone. That's really what you need, is somebody to call people like that out on their shit.
And he had enough spine and consideration for his friend Rachel to do that, because he was defending his friend.
Two things off of that scene that I think are important. One, I love the way they shot this film, particularly the director's choices in shots, but I love the way we see in the reflection of the picture on the wall, him go into the room, and he thinks, and he's like, nope, I'm not letting her get away with this.
Yep.
Rachel won't speak up for herself,
That's right.
but I'm going to.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
And the second thing, we get a recall to earlier in the film when she goes into again, she's passing judgment, she's making assumptions. Assumptions only make an ass out of you and me.
Yes.
And she sees the apples in the fridge.
Yes.
And she's like, what has our sister been doing this whole time? How terrible she's been taking care of them. There's nothing but apples.
That's right.
And they're like stale in the fridge and all that, right? And then he recalls on something.
Yeah, that's what the dad wanted.
He wants soft apples.
That's right.
So she's been feeding him all and then you go, oh man. And that doesn't even get through.
No, it doesn't.
That doesn't get through to her. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I would feel horrible in that situation if I was like, man, I had you wrong.
Yeah.
I apologize. I made an assumption.
But she's not that big of a person.
No.
And she's also that, I think, insecure. Mm. And she's so wrapped up into herself that she just doesn't have room or space for other people. And she already figures, like we were talking about her, I've already got you sized up. So why are you still talking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know? And,
sure.
And I just think life could be pretty miserable for a Kate.
Sure.
Yeah, and it is reference made in the movie that her daughter is really rebelling hard. What a shocker.
Yeah. Makes you wonder why.
What a shocker.
Didn't see that coming.
It shows to me that movie really with the assumptions that Kate makes about her sisters, about Benji, about everything.
Yeah.
She's putting blinders on herself.
Yeah. And
shutting other people out. And she so trusts her own opinion, over what was right in front of her, Benji. And like you were saying, if there was some largesse in her, if there was some ability to go, oh my God, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I think in her world, in her life, in her mind, she can't afford to be wrong. Mm-hmm. She has to be right.
She has to be right all the time. And I think there's a couple of things I want to hit there on what you said, which was great. I think that, number one, we see from the beginning how determined she is to get this DNR signed.
Yeah.
And that's like her whole motive, the entire thing. Like we see, forgive me, the other daughter's name.
Well, we've got Rachel, and we've also got Christina.
Christina was very empathetic, I want to sit by him, his bedside, take care of him, sing to him. So we see that.
Yeah.
We see Rachel, I've been doing it for years.
Although she didn't say it.
Right.
That was the reality.
That was implied.
Right.
And then we see Carrie Coon's character, who she, from the start and carried all the way through, she was so bound and determined to get this signed. It became, like you said, she's the authority. She's the big sister. She's the one who's got to take control. No one's going to do it if it's not me. I think she said that in the film.
Oh, she was very upset.
If I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it.
That's right.
Like, she just kept harping on that. It just really, her character shows through there.
Even when the nurse told her, you really don't have to have a DNR. And I even thought about that, having parents who were hospitalized and stuff.
Yeah.
A DNR is really important when you're in a hospital.
Sure.
Because, the alarms will go off and people will come in and resuscitate. As the nurse was saying to her, you don't have to call 911 right away.
You can call us.
You can take your time.
Right.
And she still couldn't. That still didn't get through to her.
Yeah, she's like,
still didn't get through.
no, this is what he wanted. This is what he wanted. I have to do it. It's that authoritative figure in her coming out of like, I can't be wrong. I can't make a mistake.
No.
So I have to get this done. That's why she was so bound and determined to get it done. I wanted to ask you something.
Sure.
Because I'm just thinking now when we're talking about this, things are coming up. But when you were young, do you feel
I can't
that?
remember.
When you were younger, do you feel that you
Thank you. Younger. Good.
you took on things from the people around you? We're obviously very impressionable as children. Do you think there's things you look back on that you were wrong about, that you were taught growing up, or you heard through the grapevine of your parents or your parents' friends or friends of yours, or sort of ideas, values, morals that you kind of realized at a certain point you didn't really align with?
What a question.
I know it's a lot to chew, but
That's a lot. Wow.
when I was thinking about this film, I had written down some notes here,
That's a great question.
and that's one of the things that I really thought of.
Well, don't you think we're kind of all raised with the first thing I think of was being raised Catholic.
Okay.
That is a particular set of ideals and
Sure.
structure and rules, if you will, and there's a lot of assumption in that.
Mm-hmm.
You can call it faith,
Yeah.
but it's an assumption.
Yeah. Sure.
And so, how do you navigate that as you go through life and things happen?
Sure.
And those assumptions are challenged.
Yeah, because as a kid, you're just going, okay, I'm just expected to do this thing, and
Totally.
I just have to go to this, and
Well, exactly. And you're also, as a little kid, you can't help it. You're taught to value certain things.
Mhm.
So, like in our family, is value education, really important. Have to go to college.
Mhm.
That was really pounded.
sure.
Not everybody grows up that way. But is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about taking on? You could say the assumptions of the family or whatever.
Yeah, I think in relating it to the film, her character has a lot of assumptions and seemingly preconceived. And I know
Big
that
time.
growing up, not necessarily specific people, I won't name, but, friends of family and family friends and my friends' parents and all these things, you would hear things and be exposed to a
Okay.
lot of assumptions about other people, maybe groups of people,
Okay.
the ways certain people decided to live their life, and you were imprinted on, or at least I was as a child. It wasn't until I became an adult that I started to peel back the layers and go, wait a second,
Yeah.
I don't really feel this way about these people, though.
Good for you. To me, you're describing. This was illustrated so perfectly in a very old movie, Mississippi Burning.
Okay.
And it really depicted, in a painful way, how prejudice is passed on, how bias is passed on. Is a little kid born prejudiced? No, little kids love everybody.
Yeah.
They have to be taught
Sure.
that.
Sure.
So that's an assumption, if you will,
Absolutely.
that this other group of ethnicity or whatever or gender or
Yeah.
orientation is this way,
Yeah.
and we see them this way. Oh, we do, Dad. Oh, okay.
Of course, you're a kid. You can't know
know.
any better.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're impressionable.
I think because assumptions was a key challenge I took away from this movie as well. Because look, we all have them, and that's part of where I think this movie hits so well, because the three daughters are so different, and their dynamic is quite interesting and challenging. And we can, as we mature, grow older, we can hold on to all the assumptions we want.
Yeah.
But doesn't that completely blind us from what's in front of us?
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And we should talk about the ending at some point.
Yeah.
Where the father
Yeah, let's
appears.
yes. Let's bookmark. Let's do a
Let's
little break
bookmark.
here.
Yeah.
And let's come back to that because that's a lot to discuss.
Yes, that is.
So let's get into a bad guy break.
Okay.
So this is our portion of the show where
Okay.
I give you 4 hints, and this is going to lead into a popular fictional antagonist
Okay.
who would have benefited from having empathy for people outside his own space, outside his own group, people that aren't like him, people with differences.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the year, the medium, the genre, and the actor. Let's see if you can guess it, all right?
Okay. Here we go.
So the year is 1993.
I was 4. Okay. Keep
The
going.
medium is film.
Okay.
The genre is a historical drama.
Okay.
Are the wheels turning before I give you the actor?
A
The
little.
actor might
It's
give it
hard to know
away.
What 93? What what came out in 93? But go ahead.
The actor is Ralph Fiennes. 1993 historical drama starring Ralph
Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes.
And it's not The English Patient, huh?
No.
Historical drama. This is gonna haunt me.
One of the greatest movies
Oh, stop.
of all time. I'm just trying to dig it in there.
Yeah, it's working. You're having no empathy for me whatsoever. I'm kidding. I don't know.
3,
man.
2,
Yeah.
1.
Sorry.
Schindler's List.
Oh
Woo-wee. So I know that this is a kind of
God, Spielberg too. We've talked about Spielberg.
we've talked about Spielberg at length,
So
but
freaking brilliant.
this is we're painting in broad strokes here because this is a subject that's based on a real person.
Yeah.
So Rafe
I know. Ray Fiennes.
Ray
Yeah.
Fiennes plays Amon Goeth,
Okay.
who is a Nazi officer and commandant of the concentration camp in
right.
Poland.
Oh, he was so beautifully evil.
Oh, it was great. I can talk about him for days, but
He's amazing.
he's one of my favorite working actors. But in this film, which is beautifully, beautifully told and beautifully executed, we see this man who has a complete and utter lack of empathy for those outside of his own kin, if you will.
Yeah.
Right under his nose, happening right to him. And I had a conversation with someone, I think it was my girlfriend recently, where we were discussing how is it possible that no one was speaking up. No one was, people were maybe, but just for all that to happen for so many years and for so many innocent people to die and be tortured. We see that beautifully illustrated here where his character is completely oblivious, completely blinded by the fact that like the wrath, the pain, the torture that he is at the helm of and is overseeing.
Boy, you have to feel pretty righteous, don't you?
Sure. And boy, his character does.
Yeah. And have utter disregard for other humans.
Yeah. And
Chilling.
And like I said, broad strokes here, but there is something to compare to people who have that lack of empathy. Certainly, Katie in this film, we would obviously say there's levels to this shit. She is not,
Right.
There's obviously levels,
Sure.
but there's still similarities there where these are two individuals who, for some reason or another, there's like it's almost like they're looking at someone through stained glass.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not seeing who's really there. To have these horrific, malicious acts happen right under your nose and right in front of you and be able to just continue with that is compelling.
Doesn't it show phenomenal capacity for humans to justify what they do?
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure he had very good reasons to himself
Yeah.
for why he was the way he was,
Yeah.
and why his actions were, I said earlier, righteous or correct or the best thing for the German people.
Sure.
And so in that sense, like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I'm good.
And certainly Hitler had that profound effect on many, 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 many millions of people. I mean, the German population as a whole.
Amazing. Yeah, that was
he was able to give
storm.
people that justification.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, here's why you're doing it. And then
Right.
you think to yourself, oh, okay, I'm doing the right thing. This is
Right.
my duty.
That's
I'm doing
right.
my duty to my country and my people.
That's right. And there were some brave people
Sure,
who
absolutely.
stood up and lost their lives, a lot of them because of it. And I think probably, there are those that went along that had to live with the guilt.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
ooh, that's quite that was a good bad guy.
That's a
You
good
picked
bad guy
you
break,
picked
yeah.
a good bad guy. My
Yeah.
goodness.
And we see, on the other hand, the complete opposite of that with Schindler, where he sees through everything. And he has a lot of empathy for the people, and he does everything that he can. And we have that beautiful, beautiful scene. If you haven't seen the movie, sorry, but there's that beautiful scene where he breaks down, where he says, like, I could have saved more. There could have been more. What about the others? I one more. And that just, God, speaks volumes to the contrast of those two characters, which is brilliant.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Spielberg's just a
genius.
genius.
Yeah.
An orchestrator.
I think he's going to make it.
Oh,
I think he's going to have a good career.
I see a lot of potential in
I think so too.
in that.
I think so too.
Yeah, but let's get back to his three daughters here.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to speak on the brilliant, brilliant execution of the ending and where we finally... By the way, I loved that we never saw him until then.
I did too.
Absolutely love that choice.
I did too. And again, we're going to just spoil the hell out of this movie if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
already.
pause and watch it and come back.
But I wondered if we were going to see him. And
Me too.
This is, I went onto IMDb afterwards to just look at what people had to say. And a lot of people were really angry that we did see the father.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't find it real, like it was realistic up until that point, and then that wasn't realistic. And I understand what they're saying. And I've heard of this more than seen it, but I've been around people who are not doing well. They're about to pass away.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual for people to have a brief rebound, like maybe for a day, of
just before,
of lucidity, of real clarity, of feeling better, and then the next day they're gone.
Okay.
And so it's not unheard of,
Sure,
to have a rally.
Okay.
And I think that if it hadn't happened in this movie, I think those three sisters would have stayed estranged.
Wow. Okay,
I thought it was a profound gift, and maybe some people said they thought it was too Hollywood. I thought it was very moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, what did you think?
Well, initially I felt the same way everyone else did.
Okay.
So initially when he pops up and rips everything off and he grabs a beer and everything, I thought, man, I love this movie until now. This really disappointed me. It wasn't until we see that none of that was real. That was all in his head. That was what he wanted. That was what he wanted to show. That was what he wanted to tell. Because we see him look and he sees himself sitting in the chair. And then we cut to the girls, Dad, wake up, Dad, wake up. So that was him dying to me. That's when it sewed it up. I was like, as it was happening, literally, I'm sitting here on my couch and I'm going, please let him be dying and not be up, jumping around, running around.
Yeah.
Because I agree with what people were saying. It would have been unrealistic.
Yeah.
So, to your point of what you said, I loved that we didn't see him until that point. I loved that they wheeled him out together, and that this moment, this powerful moment where their dad passes away, we see the three of them sort of crowd around. They're taking photos. They're a family again. They're sisters again. It brought them together. So we absolutely needed that.
We did need it, and only he could point out to Kate, the oldest daughter, you're not paying attention here. I can't remember how he said it, but he went after her, not in a mean way.
Yeah.
but he really pointed out to her, and you could tell she could only hear it from him.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't going to hear it from Benji. She wasn't going to hear it from her sisters, probably not from her husband, not from her rebelling daughter.
Yeah.
It was really only the dad who could get through to her. And I
Yeah.
just thought, yes, that's a movie, and no, that's not reality, but what a gift. I just thought that was such a profound gift he gave the three of them, just to rally and just give them a few minutes.
Yeah.
I was really moved by it. I
was
with
too.
It. I just went with it.
I was too. I'll tell you. I'll be honest. When they first wheeled him out, I started to tear up.
Me too.
I started to tear up because, and again, that's just beautiful execution of not. We only ever saw the door a hinge.
That's right.
Just
That's right.
ajar.
That's right.
And we could hear vaguely the noises, and that's all we ever got. So then that's what makes that moment so much more special, is when you finally see him with your own eyes for the first time. It's emotional.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
that's the person that raised these three daughters. That's the person that, built this life for them. And it's a profound moment. So,
It is a profound moment, and I had to suspend disbelief with some things, like, and I've read this in IMDb too, like, the clothes he was wearing, and like he didn't. Did he look like a guy who was right on death's door?
No.
He really didn't.
No.
He looked a little too rigorous for that.
Yeah.
But I let go of all that because I just thought there's something just really lovely here.
I think as we're speaking about this, I feel like it was what happened, that whole entire scene with him getting up and walking around and everything and telling them everything is a metaphor for what that death did for all of them.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because when we were talking about Katie and we're talking about all the sisters, this is and you did bring this up initially when you were setting this up. This is an extreme circumstance, and it's going to bring out things. It's going to bring out all kinds of sides of people. For you people who are listening to this, who have had, people close to you pass away, you have no idea how you're going to react.
Sure.
I didn't know how I was going to be when my parents passed.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to hit you. Just like on the flip side of that, you don't know how you're going to be as a parent.
Yeah.
Until you're a parent.
Sure.
And I think that does need to be taken into consideration here, that it was an extreme circumstance.
Yeah.
And that's where I just thought, suspending disbelief for the sake of this story, to also see, what does he have to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes me think of, he's fortunate that, he's just a character, but he's fortunate that he got to say those things.
Yeah.
Because once somebody's gone,
there's no,
that's it.
That's it. There's no, you can't.
And if you can have those moments, that's extraordinary.
At the final, yeah. To
And-
be able to.
Yep. And I would hope that for the sake of what happens next with Katie, that she takes that to heart.
Yeah, because we kind of see. What did you feel about the scene where we see them all take turns sitting in the chair? What did you feel? How did that make you feel? I think there's something to be said there about how moving that scene was, where they each, for their own reasons, they all get up one by one and go sit in the chair.
That's probably still warm.
It's still warm from his body being there. That's where Dad died. That's where Dad passed away.
I appreciated it, actually, because I thought the actresses did such a good job of being their character.
Absolutely, because we see what Rachel.
Rachel couldn't do it.
Her-
Rachel just kind of sat down and
barely-
was like, okay, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Sure.
There's got to be a Mets game I could be watching right now.
Yeah. Shout out to
and-
Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah, and that's Natasha Lyonne. She was awesome, and it made sense. I also, I was a little torn by that, because I'd want something like that to be organic, and like I put myself in Natasha Lyonne's place,
Yeah.
and her sisters did it. Did she want to do it? Maybe not, but she did it because she could feel the pressure from her sisters.
Okay.
And then I thought,
Don't love that.
no, I didn't love that.
okay.
And that's why I liked how she reacted.
where she just barely.
She kind of sat down because I didn't think she wanted to do it.
Sure. The other two is believable.
It is. The first one was the most believable.
Specifically, what was it? Christina?
Christina.
Yeah, that's...
Christina, because that was an organic thing. To sit in Dad's chair, Dad was just here. He just passed away in this chair.
I want to feel...
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that was genuine. When the second one got up, I was like, okay. Which was Kate. And,
What do you think was the turning point? Because we do see Katie, they have that scene in the living room before I'm trying to remember it in my head where they start to joke around, her and Rachel, after the fight.
They did.
They start to have some sort of
bit of common ground, but you could see how tenuous it was.
Sure.
And that could evaporate in a second. And I think it kind of did, because they joked around a little bit and then it started to turn.
Do you think it was Benji? Do you think Benji got through to?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think he got through.
What do you think was about that moment where she
was, I guess they were both relaxed enough that, what was it that they were bonding over? Because they both agreed with.
That nurse is always coming around saying.
That's right. That he's about to die.
He's going to die.
He's about to die.
He's going to die.
And so, look, I think Kate, we could see that, Kate was actually pretty quick to cry.
Yeah.
And you could also see her expression when people were like leaving the room, whatever, that you could tell she's got a heart.
Absolutely.
She's absolutely got a heart.
Yeah.
So I think she was probably looking for common ground.
Okay. And then that's something
and they
that
found
they could
some.
Share. Because up until that point, it was like zero.
And
Nothing.
think about how exhausting that must be also.
Yeah.
To have no common ground, to be in this place. Dad's dying. I'm with my sisters, like, So I think that moment of levity was really brilliant.
Great.
And important.
Absolutely. And you needed the three. You needed Christina there to kind of serve as like the buffer. She was her own character and she had her own arc and flaws and everything we can discuss, but she really served as the buffer between the two of them.
She did.
Because she was a lot of the times going, hey, that's not, go easy on her.
Yeah,
or
she was.
You don't know that. Or like there was a lot of compassion and empathy there from her character. And I think maybe she bridged the gap between the two of them.
She was very middle child-esque. Yeah.
Katie and Rachel couldn't have been further apart on the spectrum. But then we see kind of Christina's able to kind of be the glue that holds them together. And then their dad obviously being the one thing that they all share in common. Because I think it was brought up at some point that Rachel is not.
Different dad, different mom.
Yes. Yeah. Because there was like that
she's
weird
not a
moment
sister.
where Kate wanted to say, you're not
one of
really
us.
our sister.
And that's where when the dad brought that up.
Yeah, he's not really your dad.
But I love what Rachel said on her own too.
Mm-hmm.
Like her father, I believe, was gone by the age of she was 4.
Yeah.
And she said, this is the only dad I know.
Yeah.
And I think that was starting to get through to Kate.
Okay.
I think that started to get through to her.
So that's kind of the moment when she started to understand and realize.
I think so.
Yeah,
and then Dad brought that home.
Yeah, with what he said.
Telling Kate.
Yeah.
That, I am the only father she's known.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And her mother died when she was young too. I mean, for crying out loud, have some mercy.
Yeah, this person has been through a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of no wonder. I also think that, I just got to throw this in there, I also think that character, Rachel, was arguably like the most sane in a way.
Yeah.
Because you got the impression that Christina kind of lived in a slight dream world.
Sure.
And I think they were trying to kind of make her out to be this California, yoga mom kind of thing,
sure.
And I thought she smokes a lot because she sees a lot. And it's hard to take.
Yeah.
And so just self-anesthetizing.
She's been there by his bedside watching him die for the last who knows how long.
And I think they have a lot in common because I think it sounds like they watched a lot of games together.
Yeah.
Like they love sports together.
And that stayed with her.
What did she do when she went in to see her dad the only time during that movie? She told him about the odds on the bets that she had.
Yeah.
And then she walks out.
Yep. Which was that was a great moment too, where we finally see, because throughout the whole first or second act, she's like, "No, I'm not gonna go in there. No, I'm okay."
Yeah, because I
And
think
she's
it's
kind of
too
locked in her
hard.
room. Yeah.
I think it's just too hard. I think she just really loves him, and
They had a special bond.
they did.
Yeah.
They did.
And
And
so it
the
was-
other two sisters were not around.
Yeah.
Didn't see it.
Because what is it? Benji says that you live what?
Yeah,
You
and,
come
well,
here once a month. You live up here.
Katie lives in Kate lives in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I don't think they ever said where this apartment was, but look, it was in one of the 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
So it's not like, they were that far away.
Because that was another assumption that Kate made too, where she was like, "You just want the apartment. Look, the apartment's great. I think it's great for you."
was
She
really-
didn't come out and say, "You just want the apartment," but
She came so close.
She came so close. She would just say, "Oh, the apartment's a great value, right?
Right.
And you're getting it."
Right.
Like it was just teetering on. It's kind of like emotional manipulation.
Oh, it sure was.
It's just teetering right there.
Oh,
on,
that was
like,
terrible.
on,
That
you
was
know,
terrible.
It's hard to watch
It is hard to watch.
someone be that harsh to a
because she executed it so brilliantly. as an
to
actor-
a
as an
puppy
actor.
dog.
Yeah, totally.
Rachel, by all means, was
Yeah.
she needed the most empathy out of the 3 of them, and yet
Agreed. I think, I'm just making an assumption.
yeah,
That's how Kate was all the time in the outside world. That's just how she lived her life.
Absolutely.
And now being in this small apartment, although for New York, I don't know, it's 3-bedroom, not totally small, but it was. I think it got to be painful for her.
Yeah.
To be her.
sure,
You
sure,
know?
yeah, and
Because she was having she was getting called on her shit.
finally
Finally.
somebody did it.
Yeah, and the dad had to come out and do that. Again, if he hadn't done that,
The nail in the coffin.
it would have, so to speak, it would have been a very different ending.
And her character, we see a lot, and there's a lot that's revealed through her conversations with her family back home.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
we understand, to your point, to what you said, that she just is like this. Because she has, I think towards the end, she has that conversation with her daughter where she's like yelling at her. "No, don't do that. What are you talking about? I'm saying no, don't." And then she like hangs up on her or something. Like we can tell that she's just this hammer. She
Yep.
is just this straight line, perfect, like she's trying to keep everything together and in line at all times.
And at the same time, feeling like you're making me be this way.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And she certainly carries that with
About not taking responsibility.
no accountability.
No accountability.
It's the same thing about with her sisters,
Yeah.
where she feels that they're painting her out to be the bad guy.
Right.
I'm not this person. I don't want to yell.
Well, and I'm not this person. I gotta, Ryan, it's like when people say, "I didn't mean to say that." I can't help it. In my head, I think you absolutely meant to say that. You wish you hadn't said it.
There you go.
But
That's
I
a
don't
better way to
say
put it.
that to people
Yeah.
because then they might hit you or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But, I'm not that person. No, you are. Look, you just did that.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
That's an aspect of you. It doesn't mean that you are that.
That whole person, yeah.
It's kind of like, is somebody a jerk or are they just acting like a jerk? There's actually a massive difference between the two.
Of course.
But this is where she lacks, she really lacks a self-reflection
Sure.
gene or at least that capability.
That's where
to
it
do
comes
that.
from, yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't. There's something she just doesn't want to look. She does not want to look.
Yeah. It's stemming really from her having a lack of self-reflection and not spending enough time with looking within and going, "Well, man,
Because
I'm
she's
kind of harsh."
She is harsh. It's if you think about it, I'll just use myself as an example.
Yeah.
The better I feel about myself, the more I can take of feedback.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Kate's not okay with herself.
Mm.
So she's not going to be open to a whole lot of feedback.
Yeah, she
You
can't
know?
take any.
She just can't. She's
Sure.
and that's where again it's she's probably so bloody harsh on herself.
Mhm.
inside of her own head, it would not be a pleasant place to be.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of grace and humility in embracing, or at least having a willingness to be wrong. At least having
God, isn't that huge?
oh, you know how much
Huge.
different life would be for everyone on earth if people just had a touch of that humility, of that self-love.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's okay.
we're all wrong. We're all flawed. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But as long as you're willing and able to, you know what? Look, I messed up. That's on me. I stepped out of line, whatever it was. I didn't see, I'll work on, not making that happen again.
Yeah. Oh, I
That's
think,
it. That's all you need there.
I think you're hitting on something huge.
I'll ask you a question. If Benji came
Okay.
to you and said his spiel, what would your reaction be?
I would like to think I'd be like, oh, like cringing of
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I got that so wrong.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, hey, thank you, and come on, sit down.
Yeah, let's
Like,
talk.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Let's we've got food. Let's hang out.
Which is amazing that her character didn't give a rat's ass.
God, Carrie Coon played that so well.
So well.
You wanted to, yeah.
The three of them in a film together, man. What a fantastic idea. What a great cast. What a great
phenomenal cast, because
trio.
I really loved also Elizabeth Olsen
Oh.
with her, because you could see a mixture of like a Pollyanna who's in a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, it's about her father, but I didn't think and yes, she misses her daughter, but it's when the three of them are talking, and one of them's like, "Your perfect life." She's like, "Really? You really think that?"
Yeah, that was a great delivery from her at that. You're
Yeah.
talking about the dinner table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
You really think that of me?
Yeah, but she
Not at
presents
all.
herself that way.
Of course.
So it was like, yeah, I thought it too.
We do, yeah.
But you could see where she's like, it's not that way. But I think she's trying to put up a good face, and I had the impression from her that it wasn't about just showing a good face for the Joneses. It was more about like doing it for the sake of keeping everybody okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there was goodness behind it.
Yeah, she was coming at it
It
from
wasn't just ego.
No, absolutely not. She was coming at it from a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like it. So the value. Okay, so I'd flip that question back to you.
Okay.
If Benji came to you, how do you think you'd handle that?
Yeah, I'd have a similar reaction to you. I'd feel
Okay.
awful. I would feel awful. I would immediately go to my sister and say, I am terribly sorry about what happened. It's whether it was I'm just not good. I haven't dealt with this before. I've never,
Right.
I've never dealt with someone passing away. Like I'm not myself. And, yeah, really take accountability and apologize for it. Cause I love to hear people out, man.
Yeah,
And
me
I-
too.
But that's
Me too.
a testament to that empathy that we carry. I mean, I'm always willing and able to see things from somebody else's point of view. And if I can't put myself in your shoes directly, at least try. At least have the effort. Because I get it. I get Katie's character. There are plenty of people that I come across where I just don't get it. I just can't understand why you are this way. Like, don't you see? It's so clear right in front of you. But I have to approach it with some level of empathy and humility. I have to go, we were raised differently. We have different life experiences. We're different human beings fundamentally.
Right.
So I cannot expect you to know everything I know, live life the way I do. That's unrealistic.
Well, I can appreciate in you that you're saying I have to do that, because you absolutely do not have to do that. But it's a good thing that you do.
Yeah, sure. It's a decision at the end of the day.
It is a decision.
Yeah.
It is a decision. You don't have to try to understand anybody else if you don't want to. You can just keep doing your day.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's a good thing you do. The other thing I wanted to ask you about with this movie,
Yeah.
because I think Kate pushed my buttons at times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
do you feel like your buttons get pushed because, like, how did she push your buttons? And why?
I think she pushed my buttons just because it's not the way that I would react. I think I wanted her so badly to understand. I wanted her so badly to stop passing judgment, to stop having assumptions,
Yeah.
and to hear out her sisters and understand that. I think we talked about this before the episode, but leading up to this, but everybody grieves differently. Everybody has their own way of grieving. Everyone has their own way. There's no right way. There's no textbook way. And so I know people from my own life who have gone through something similar. Some people are like, okay, now we're done. Time to go back to life. And that's one way to do it. Some people have a really tough time for weeks and months afterwards.
Sure.
There's no right or wrong way.
No.
And her sister didn't have that. Her sister didn't have that self-reflective, characteristic where she could understand that, listen, you're grieving in your own way. I think it's weird that you're singing to Dad all these times, but that's Christina's way of grieving.
That's right.
That's what she feels she needs and wants to do for him in that moment.
Yep.
And there's beauty in that.
Oh my God, yes.
So to your question, I just wanted her to be different. I wanted to, there are certain times where I just want to take a character and shake them and just go, please stop.
Well, in essence, that's what the dad did.
Sure.
In his,
his
7
final,
minutes on screen.
Yeah, his final.
He really did shake her.
Yeah.
So to speak. Because I'll confess something, Father Ryan. I know that at times when when dynamics in movies or characters push my buttons, I know it's because I do that too.
Interesting.
That's why it'll push my buttons.
Sure.
Because it's like, oh God, I don't want to understand that. I don't want to. But
I wish I didn't. Yeah.
I do that too.
Yeah.
I do that too.
I get that. Absolutely.
And those can be hard to admit.
Yeah.
And so Kate was pushing my buttons, and I had to ask myself, why is she pushing my buttons?
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
And part of it, I think, was that I was just so frustrated seeing her assumptions, and also there were snide comments.
Yeah.
And I know I've run across that in my life, and I know how much those snide comments affected me.
Yeah.
But I could also see where I make assumptions too.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I just wondered, watching her, I was like, where am I blind? Where am I putting people in boxes? Because quite frankly, I hate being put in a box.
Yeah. And we all don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's varying degrees.
Yeah.
For me, it's quite active. That dislike of it it's right there. It's on my screen all the time. It's on the
surface, yeah.
And so it's the do unto others. I do my best not to put others in boxes.
Sure.
Because I don't want that myself.
Do unto others as you wish upon yourself.
Oh,
whatever
yeah,
the golden
like
rule.
That.
Yeah,
something like that. I heard that somewhere. But
yeah, Katie needs to. She needs to.
Oh, that might benefit
realize
her. This is one of those movies where I'd love to see a month later.
Oh yeah, to see if it all held up.
To see if it held up.
Or if they all went back to their.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end we see them kind of say, and we'll button this here, we'll end this here, but we kind of see them say to each other their goodbyes, and they're kind of stay in touch, like I'll be back, like let's visit each other, like there seems to be like this experience has transformed them.
I hope so.
To while now maybe they realize the importance of life and the fragility in life, and that it could be gone in any instant.
For sure.
And then that you need family. You need family, and you're going to need each other, and you have to be there for one another. Like Rachel needs you to. Christina needs you to. And you can each, play a part in each other's lives.
Yeah. I think they all wanted it at the end.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It was genuine.
I'd love to see, just
a month later. Just give me a blip.
I'd love to think that last
flash forward.
And then it got better. And
sure.
She'd come over from Brooklyn, and she did keep the apartment.
Yeah.
It was, it was okay. It was good.
Yeah. I want to know what happened to my guy Benji. Love that guy.
That guy was great.
He was great. He was a great character.
Talk about somebody who comes into a movie for a really short amount of time and has a really high impact.
Yeah, brief role, brief screen time, and man, he really
That
He
character
really
was
shakes things up.
fantastic.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Let's button that there, and
Okay.
let's give these people a recommendation.
Yeah.
Let's give them something else that'll kind of... Because what we learned from this is that you need empathy. You need to see where other people are coming from, even if you're not in their shoes. And if you can do that, there's a massive growth that can happen in you as a person there. And let's stay on Spielberg.
Okay.
Let's just keep it in the family.
Okay.
Okay, so my recommendation is E.T., the 1982 movie directed by Steven Spielberg. It's only available for rent right now, so I apologize. You'll have to go rent it somewhere. If you haven't seen this by now, man, you're missing out on...
Welcome back from the planet.
Yeah. This is a classic. But in this film, a young boy befriends a stranded alien and helps him get back to his home planet.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a child, there's this childlike wonder. There's this childlike innocence where you don't yet... We touched on something earlier that these things are taught. I don't think you're born with this lack of empathy or this, opinions about a certain group of people or whatever it might be. I think that's a learned behavior.
Right.
And so we see in this with Elliot, I think that's the kid's name.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't know how I pulled that one.
That's fun.
But he's able to, even though there's this different, weird, strange alien, it's just childlike wonder. It's just childlike ignorance where he just kind of, I want to help this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody kind of freaks out about it and everything, but he's kind of like,
sure do. What a great movie.
this is I just need to help him get back. He's just like us.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of beauty in that.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
that really kind of touches this same subject of
nice one.
Having empathy for someone else. That's different than you, despite your differences.
Yeah, because other people are in pain too. Other people have challenges too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is this movie. So if you want
excellent
a little bit more after watching His Three Daughters, go check out E.T. It's a classic. It's a phenomenal film. I'm sure we'll talk about Spielberg a lot.
Yeah.
On this podcast.
I think we should. we should.
Anything else to add? I think we want to button it up there. That's a beautiful way to put it.
I feel so good about it. Yeah, I do.
If you haven't seen it, obviously we just ruined the entirety thing. But let us know. Did you feel the same way? Were you moved?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this movie affected you, because I was moved to tears.
Oh, me too.
At times by it. So
I really appreciate it.
As always, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us. It's been an absolute blast. We hope to see you again. Come back next week, and don't be afraid to take a step back every once in a while and take a look at the bigger picture, because you're the main character of your own life, and sometimes the answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Cheers.